So why Putin continues to scale up his terror? What real problem will prevent him from waging war beyond 2025? And how hard is Donald Trump prepared to hit the Kremlin? All these and other topics we will discuss right now. My name is Irina Uzlova, and today with us is Michael Sheitelman, political strategist. Michael, hello, glad to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Irina.
Let me start with great news. It seems to me that we can assess it in this way. Britain, France, Germany and the United States have decided to lift range restrictions on military supplies to Ukraine. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said this was reported by the China Global Television Network in Europe. In addition, the information is also confirmed by Clash Report. And we see that it is expected that Germany can provide 100-150 of these missiles, which are similar to the British-French Storm Shadow and Scalp-G. So will we see Tauruses? How do you think? And what prospects does this open for us?
Well, it's a very effective weapon, but on the same time, there are not a lot of weapons like that. And the number of missiles, as you mentioned, 100, 150, this is great, this is good, but this is far to be enough. Because this is very, very expensive missile. The price of one missile is about $1 million. And comparing to ATACMS, it is effective, but not effective enough for this price. So this is good news, and we expected for that 3 years. Okay, let's say the negotiation about Taurus started 2 years ago. About 2 years ago, I believe, first time we heard publicly as German Chancellor said no, we will not send the Taurus to Ukraine. And it was the previous predecessor of Mr. Merz. And his position was that Taurus could hit Moscow. The Taurus physically could hit inside Moscow. And he said, no, we are not ready to send Taurus because Ukrainians, they could hit Moscow and it will bring a German to the war, or it will bring the next stage of the war. But the times changes not only because the change of power in German, but also, I believe, because of understanding that this is not some limited war. This is not the war of some limited goals by Russians. This is unlimited war. This is the war for destroying Ukraine and destroying Europe. And the only way to stop Putin is to destroy Russian Federation. A lot of people now understand that, also in Europe and, as we heard this night, also in US.
But really, it took more than 3 years, and we didn't see such permissions, but we have seen for all these 3 and more years such attacks from Russian Federation. Maybe now because the United States sometimes shows us unexpected and unpredictable positions. So we see these strong decisions by European allies because they understand that our future and their future depends only on ourselves.
You know, let's say, previous generation of European leaders, previous generation, I mean previous Prime Minister of UK and previous Chancellor of Germany, and we also remember the previous Prime Minister of Italy, Mr. Draghi, and they came from the generation of peace between Europe and Russia. Really, they started to be the top politician in their countries when Russia was an ally of Europe, generally. Before 2008, or we also could say before 2011, when Putin just come back to the power in Russian Federation, the position of Russia was that we are allies, we are new allies, and we want to join, or join the European Union, or to be the close partner of European Union. And this generation of politicians, it was very difficult for them to say, wow, now everything has changed. We have the same president of Russian Federation, Mr. Putin, but this is the Putin version 2 or Putin version 3. And this is not the same Putin we worked with. And now we see that from all the new leaders. Mr. Merz, he has no long, loyal relationship with Putin. And Prime Minister of Italy, she was child when Putin came to the power. No, really, she was child when Putin came to the power. And the new generation, they don't remember friendly Putin and friendly Russia. For them, this is naturally that Russia is the enemy. And this is easier to take decisions like that. And the best illustration of this change of mind is today's proclamation by President Trump when he said, I don't understand who is this Mr. Putin. I remember another Putin. Putin was another guy. Till now, I didn't get to his post of Mr. Trump. It was just an interview to CNN when he said, it is like Putin changed. I remember my friend Putin. I remember Putin. I was in line with. But now it is somebody else. And if Trump, it is the same guy, the same president who was in first term and second term, when Putin is absolutely another person and Russia is absolutely another country. And this is the reason why it is difficult to understand how it could happen.
Yes, you see, but that Putin is on his power chair for all 25 years without any changes at all. But Donald Trump admitted that Putin has gone crazy and promised to think about increasing sanctions, but his reproaches are more like friendly abuse. I see such comments and hear that it's only like, oh, no, Vladimir, stop in this way, yes? Many analysts advise me not to listen to Trump's statements, but to watch his actions. So why did Trump comment on the massive strikes on Ukraine only on the third day? Was he resting? And what can and should his actions be in this case?
Well, first I should to do a little bit amendment to your speech. When Mr. Putin, yes, he is 25 years in the power, but he had a period. He had a break. He had 2 terms. And afterwards, there was a term of Mr. Medvedev as president of Russian Federation. And Putin was in power. He was prime minister, but not the president. And afterwards, 2 new terms of Mr. Putin. And obviously, inside this break, anything happened to Putin, and the Putin changed his mind. He, from the chair of prime minister, he watched how worked Mr. Medvedev, and Mr. Medvedev brought liberalization to the power and gave back some election of governors, etc., etc. And Putin didn't like that. And when he come back to the power, he became to be more and more conservative and more fascist, comparing to his 2 first terms. This is very important. This break, everybody forget about that, because it was very long time ago, but it existed still, and it has its influence. Coming back to Trump speeches of this night, why he didn't react at first day or second day? Because first, his team should react, and really Kit Kellogg gave his reaction. This is first. Second, yes, he was at the golf field. We know exactly, because of his pictures from golf field, that he played golf just 2 days. And on his way back to White House, he was briefed by his team. I don't know personally by whom. It could be Kit Kellogg, it could be Marco Rubio, and he was briefed about all of this situation in Kyiv and in Ukraine, which is under attacks of missiles and drones. And he also, I believe, he has a habit to see the cover pages of newspapers. This is my guess, but he sometimes give quotes from the cover pages of newspapers, and we also see him physically when he sits in the car, when we see him with paper newspapers. When you play golf, you don't have paper newspapers with you on you. So he watched it and he read that, and I also checked the same first pages, and on each first page was the information about this huge attack. So it was his reaction. But this explanation works only when we think about Mr. President Trump as a lone figure and not a part of American establishment, but reality that he is the part of American power, part of American establishment. And during these 3 days, we had reactions from example from Senate, from Senator Lindsey Graham, who said that he personally gives to Putin 2 days to stop an attacks, and he gives to Putin 2 days to stop a war, to start a ceasefire. And vice versa, he starts the process of approving the bill against Russian Federation in Senate with tariffs, etc., etc. So what President Trump understood, that this is his party. Senator Graham is Trumpist and MAGA. Senator Graham is supporter of Mr. Trump. And Senator Graham says, till now, that he wants this bill as a bill for support of Trump. Not against Trump, but support of Trump. And now President Trump stays before very difficult choice. He could join this bill and to say, yeah, Senator Graham worked for me. He works for me, and he does it for me being easier to put the new sanctions on Russian Federation. And he could also oppose to Senator Graham. And now it is a very difficult choice. And if we base on this last interview and last post by Mr. Trump, so his choice is to be ally of Senator Graham in this case and to say, yeah, I am a leader of this process. And Senator Graham is just somebody who operates this process. This is his choice. He can't stay alone. Mr. President Trump couldn't stay aside of this process. He could or support this process or to oppose this process. So he have chosen to support this process.
But I heard some opinion that, for example, even Lindsey Graham didn't take these decisions about that sanctions law alone, that without Donald Trump's permission, even before, he cannot make such step. How do you think? First
of all, to bring this bill to Senate, he certainly can. And he said that he has 80 senators who support this bill. And this is not only, only his position. I will bring you a very small example, but as you remember, there is a daughter of Kit Kellogg. Her name is Megan Mobs. And she doesn't have any official position in the Republican Party, but she's a Republican activist, and she's Trumpist. And she is MAGA activist. And she is big supporter of Ukraine. And she is the leader of international women organization for support for Ukraine. And she also brings her position. And obviously this is the position from inside of Republican Party, of the top of Republican Party. And she now, after these 3 days of bombing, she heavily support sanctions and heavily support exactly this bill by Senator Graham. So Senator Graham and his with his political moves means that he has political ambitions himself, like to be, for example, maybe, I don't know, the next president of US from a Republican Party. And so it means that he could move forward alone. Does it mean that Senate could put the sanctions on Russian Federation? Not, but they could make this bill as something obligatory to president. And president could afterwards to make some another steps against this bill, for example. But it will be the war inside the Republican Party. And this is exactly that President Trump does not need now. Then his ratings fell down. He does not need any war inside Republican Party. He should rule Republican Party, to continue to rule Republican Party. So it doesn't mean that Senator Graham could put the sanctions against Russia, but they could press President Trump so heavy that his choice not to come to this battle.
How do you think, is Russian dictator Vladimir Putin afraid about this sanctions bill?
Yes, obviously, not about the bill, but sanctions, yes. Yes. The Russian economy is in very bad shape, and half of Russian federal budget goes to the war. Half, 50%. It is huge number. It means that this is more than 10% of GDP, about 15%. We don't know reality because the Russian statistic is not the real statistics, but between 10 and 15% of GDP, of Russian GDP, goes to this war, and this is half of Russian federal budget. And that means that they can't increase this number. They just can't increase the amount of money which goes to the war. And his military people and his Minister of Defense, for example, they ask every month, just give us more and more money, because we can't succeed on the battlefield without more and more money. And President Putin openly said on the annual meeting in Ministry of Defense that he physically can't to increase the budget of the military forces, because this is till now half of budget. But this annual meeting was in December, at the end of December, and from this point of time also everything changed, because oil prices fell down by 40%. So Russian federal budget also decreased, and we don't have also money to finance the normal budget of what we have now, and not to increase that. And each billion dollar, let's say, not each dollar, but each billion dollar is very important for Putin now, for this war. And the sanctions like that, also we don't believe that Senate and Mr. Trump will decide about the maximum range of these sanctions. Let's say we will put a quarter of these sanctions, not all of these sanctions. But still, it will cost tens of billions of dollars to Russian budgets. Tens of billions of dollars, these sanctions by United States. So it means that it will hit Putin's possibility to continue this war.
Really, by the end of 2025, serious economic problems are expected in Russia, more serious. The head of the Foreign Intelligence Service of Ukraine, Oleg Ivashchenko, told about it. And according to him, Russia maintains the goal of full control over Ukraine and the other countries of former USSR, but its resources are depleted. Does Putin realize this? Because Ivashchenko told to our colleagues from Ukraine Forum that Putin does not realize all deals and all problems on front line, in economy and in other different spheres, because people who should tell him about all these problems, they sometimes try to keep calm because they are afraid to describe real problems. And if Putin understands, will he prolong his war?
Yes, certainly he will prolong this war. First, in each dictatorship system, you can't receive the true information from your staff. But it works universally. In China the same, and in Belarus, or in other dictatorship countries, or in Nazi Germany, for example, it was the same, as we know from the movies. And in each system it works the same, not only in the state, also in companies which built by this model. So it doesn't matter generally. It is the reason why these systems, they crash down at the end. Yeah, this is the reason, and it will happen to Russian Federation. Yes, but why Putin can't stop the war? And why it doesn't matter for him to know the real information and to not know the real information, to understand or not to understand the real situation on battlefield or in his budget. He doesn't care about that. Because as a president of Russian Federation, he can't stop the war generally. He built the military economic system. He built the military manufacturing in Russian Federation. And Russian manufacturing, they almost not manufacture anything else except of weapon. Yes, they produce oil and gas to sell them and to buy the equipment for military production, and to buy some details for military production, to buy some electronics for military production. And the rest of money from oil and gas, they buy food and the consumer goods. And all the food, not all the food, but half of food and 100% of consumer goods, they not produce in Russian Federation. They receive it from China, from India, from other states, and pay with gas and oil. That is how the system works now. And to stop this machine is just impossible. Soviet Union did not succeed in stopping this military production machine. Why Soviet Union collapsed? When Mr. Gorbachev, president of USSR, he started this process of they called that conversion from military producing to consumer goods producing. They didn't succeed, and they didn't succeed in Soviet Union. Soviet Union was huge economy, and it was a country with third population in the world. Russia is a very small country. We just could see on the map some territory, but it looks like it just dismisses you from the reality. Because Russia has by population, in a table of population, it is in, I believe, not in 10 top 10 countries. And as economy, it is only 2% of world economy. 2% of world economy. So it is not serious country, big serious country. And if so huge Soviet Union couldn't change from the military economy to civil economy, so Russia obviously couldn't do that, just couldn't do that. So till the end of Mr. Putin regime, we will see the war, permanent war by Russian Federation against anybody. Doesn't matter, against Ukraine or against Baltic states or Europe. So in his state of mind, there is no future without war. His political future and without war. It is very big illusion that Putin wants to stop a war and to rebuild the relationship with Europe. If he wanted this, he was not start a war.
Yes, Putin lives for war, and war is like the main reason for continuing his living on this earth and on Russia terroristic federation territory. He understands it, so he will provide. I agree with you in such case. And few minutes we have, we see that Putin is afraid for the tankers of his shadow fleet, so-called shadow fleet, because everybody understands that this fleet is illegal, and he allows Putin to take money from oil and to prolong this war due to it too. So Russian Federation increase tension in the region and protect these tankers of its shadow fleet, according to Finnish Defense Minister Antti Häkkänen. Why are they so afraid, and are real physical blockades of Putin's tankers in the Baltic Sea possible? How do you think, how effective will this really be?
The very important question is it legal or not? Because we have sanctions by European Union against this shadow fleet, but the sanctions, they don't allow to blockade the Russian harbors. This is absolutely different. The sanctions, what means the sanctions? That nobody in the European Union couldn't make the business with Russian shadow fleet. It means you can't, for example, to refill the tanks with a fuel of these ships. Yeah, example. You can't to make any services from European harbors to this fleet. And it means that it is very difficult to go through, through the sea without any loadsman service or something like that. But you can't arrest these ships. There is no proxy to arrest these ships. So this is absolutely two different things, yeah, two different issues. And people, I see like people mix that in one big issue, but not. So sanctions, they work. But to stop these civil ships, this is not military ships, from coming across the Baltic Sea, for example, there is no legal basis for that till now. Maybe it will be in the future, but till now there is no legal basis, I'm sorry.
Michael, thank you very much. Thank you for this conversation and for your time, for your opinions. Glad to see you every week in all languages and formats. So take care. See you next week. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Michael Sheitelman, political strategist. My name is Irina Uzlova. Thank you guys for joining and viewing us. Subscribe to our YouTube channels. Believe in Ukraine. See you later.